This is the Power of Osmosis podcast, powered by the Vidwheel Creator Network. Hi, everyone. This is the Power of Osmosis video podcast powered by Vidwheel Creator Network. I am John Osberg, and today I am joined by Jason Zapp of HRSC, an incredible organization that works to help certify your supply chain to make sure it's free of any sort of human rights violations. So today's conversation is an exciting one. We're going to be talking about all things community, compassion, entrepreneurship kind of startups. With really a focus on kind of how to build your business so that it's rooted in impact. And when it's rooted in impact, guess what? If you're doing the right things and you're intentional, income's going to come. So I'm excited today to be talking to Jay on the show about your business and again, how you've gotten to now and where you're going with the HRSC. So Jason, why don't you introduce yourself to our millions of viewers who watch?
John, just a second to say thank you very much for having me today. It's truly an honor and a pleasure. I appreciate it. My name is Jason Zapp, and I am the owner and the founder of HRSC, which stands for Human Rights in Your Supply Chain.
That's awesome. Yeah. And so HRSC, why don't maybe just a little more high level, Jason, on you as an executive, as a professional, as a community champion and advocate. And so we can better understand you. And then I can't wait to dive further into HRSC, how it was, the inception of it and really, again, the mission of it. So more about you though, tell us about who you are and how you got to now.
So I am in the operations field, operations, supply chain, logistics. I have over 30 years of experience and background in moving freight, getting freight to customers, people across the globe. And that's pretty much been my background for quite some time. I am a father of 5 awesome, amazing kids. And
so you have 5. I didn't even know that you have 5 children. Wow.
Yeah. You have 5 amazing children, and they're great individuals. So this is this supply chain opportunity brought me to the supply. We're gonna have to cut this.
You're good, brother. You're good. I mean, I like it. So I think what you're saying is like being in that world is what's opened your eyes to, what HRSC is now addressing. And there's not much out there like it, right? There's not much out there in way of an organization that is almost like, I wore the Batman shirt. Here it is, kind of like the watchdog, the protector of humanity, of what's right and wrong. And in this case, it's the rights of humans who are in the supply chain, whether they're children, whether they're enslaved. These are the things that HRSC is addressing.
Yes, that's exactly it. And how we stumbled across this was there's really no business or company in the private sector that does exactly what we do. So there's different types of certifications or associations or memberships you can belong to, like fair trade or like a B Corp, where you can be a big conglomerate. You use a couple of different factors to get your certification or your membership of that. This is strictly supply chain, humanity, and ethics. This is strictly like how I got this product to the shelf where consumers buy it, and to ensure that no humans have been harmed getting it there. That's really it. That's the nuts and bolts of it all.
I'm so moved by it. And I know that there are a lot of others who are. So, calling out to some mutuals of ours. Greg Shoemaker is one of them. Obviously, Bobby Manley and Danny B. But also then too, just recently, I remember we were talking with our friends at Helm and really how we can kind of synergize and we'll call it amplify your reach and what you're doing, right, Jason, at HRSC, because this is something that I know for a fact, with the COVID reset, we'll call it, there's been more of an emphasis and focus on, again, right and wrong, rights, civil rights, social justice rights, the rights, even of our environment. And that brings up thoughts of ESG, right? So environmental, social and governance type standards that I know we've talked about that HRSC is all about. So I don't think there's ever been a better time. For one, there can never be a better time to do the right thing. And that's what you're doing at HRSC, is to ensure that, again, children and that anyone else that's in part of that supply chain is not being harmed. So maybe, some more of the nuts and bolts on HRSC, kind of like, you said you've come across it by having, the views that you have in your executive role, but, what else spoke to you in saying, Jason, you should start, to yourself or to others in the community, like, tell us more about how this all came together and really the ethos of HRSC.
Well, yeah, that's an amazing question. I guess the very first thing is to say is that every day is full of opportunities, and to really zone in and tune into yourself and like what your vision for yourself is, and as a human being individually, and the universe, God, whomever will show you all the opportunities that you have, that it gives you on a daily basis, and to be so in touch and in tune with those opportunities, that can help catapult you to the next level. But that was where I was at when this happened, is that there is a need for this specific certification or association. Is that there are countries across the globe who aren't as how do I want to say it? They're not as privileged as us in the United States. And part of our privilege is our government kind of provides that foundation for us to have this privilege and these opportunities. And these countries who don't have these privileges are not protected by the governing labor laws of the host country. And so what that does is it exploits their workers, and it enables others to take advantage of them. So yeah, some people make money on it and whatnot, call it what you will, but it's coming at the expense of another human being. And I don't think any one of us, like, listening to this here, would intentionally buy a product knowing that an 8-year-old was used in making it, or that somebody who was chained up and not allowed to go home every night, was used to make that product or to get that product to our shelves. So what we're trying to do now is help brands and help companies give more of an awareness to that their particular brand doesn't participate in this, that their brand, no humans have been harmed getting this product out to the market for consumers to buy.
Well said. And I'd be curious, can we further expand on like how you define harm within HRSC? Like, what does that look like, so that a business owner watching this that maybe has, footholds or manufacturing in other countries, and maybe this is percolating their interest level and learning more, so that they are doing the right thing by ensuring that no humans are harmed. Like, what does harm mean to you and to HRSC?
Yeah, so we base all of our findings and all of our standards off of the International Labor Organization and what they consider to be harmful to humans. So we ensure that no human trafficking is involved. We also look at child labor to make sure that we have labor laws in the U.S. for children, and those laws are specifically put in place so that businesses don't take advantage of, kids working too long, or, so there's these laws that we have in place that help us stay abundant. We look at forced labor. We look at compulsory or bonded labor. We look at poor, unhygienic, and unsafe working conditions. We look at excessive work hours and harsh and inhumane treatment.
Excellent. So
those are the standards, yeah.
Yeah, and I like that. As I say, sometimes, right, and without going too deep, but there are sometimes at the very source of the problem that maybe breeds a problem would be the definition of standards, right? And so in this case, it sounds like to me, as kind of a novice, a layperson to this, that those are some pretty airtight standards. And so then HRSC comes in and ensures that their supply chains, these companies' supply chains, are compliant.
Yes.
And one other thing I wanted to say, this is more of a statement that when you were going through, when I asked you kind of like, how it's come about, the services you're offering, I thought about a couple documentaries. I don't have to name names just in case. I don't know if there's any like infringement or any reason why we might get filtered by saying it, but Netflix has some documentaries where there were a few of them that I can recall seeing on the screen, that there were interviews with folks who were within the supply chain of whatever industry that's out there. I'm sure a lot of the folks watching, listening to this would probably know what I'm talking about, but they had to de-identify the person for sake of their safety, right? So like, if their face is on a Netflix documentary, they're talking about how they're enslaved labor, right? They had to kind of like smuggle this person out of the supply chain, bring them into the interview. It was like a dark room basically, and then change the voice and then ask them questions. And basically, 18-hour days, like you said, chains that are involved. They're gone for from their families for like 6 months at a time, not knowing when they're going to come home. They're not really fed well, taken care of well. And again, as just compassionate human beings that I know certainly you are, and I know I am, that just breaks it just hits me right in the chest. It breaks my heart. And I loved when we've reconnected, Jason, for you to unearth like, hey, I got this new venture. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is fantastic. And so I'm curious, my next question to you is like, what's the receptiveness that you're seeing so far in the marketplace to in your socially conscious focused effort, right? And I'll say one more thing, that we are living again with this COVID reset in a time where double bottom line, triple bottom line, socially conscious companies are growing like no tomorrow. People are more aware, acutely aware of what's happening in the world, and they want to spend their dollars at companies that are giving back, that are donating, that are doing the right thing within their supply chains, their products, their services. So, who are you connecting with that have interest in working with you? Again, trying to arm the audience with all things HRSC, how we can empower you to reach the most folks as you can.
Yeah. So awesome question again.
It's a layered one.
But
Layers.
what we've done thus far has been just strictly through social media and through networking. We have clients that say, hey, listen, I will reach out and say, I like what you do. What'll it take for me to do it? And really, like, most people think that the cost is like astronomical, and it's really not that expensive to accomplish something like this, depending on what you want to do. One thing that I want to really point out here and drive home is that we've got mixed reviews. Some brands, some customers don't want to. Some brands, some companies don't want to have anything to do with it. They don't. No harm, no foul. That's like that. If I'm not being called out on it, But like from my perspective, and in years of it being in business and manufacturing industry and supply chain, the more proactive you are to something, the better you're going to be in the long run. What do you say? Like the battle is won in the preparation. So, as you prepare for things, you win, like you might win the battle down the road, 1, 2, 3 years down the road as you prepare for it. Now, this is something that is definitely coming. I just posted something over the weekend on LinkedIn, and you can visit my LinkedIn page, is that in Germany, a German parliament is made it law that companies, if they find out that there is ethics violations going on in the company supply chain, that it's their legal obligation to tell the German government. And if they don't report these things, they're looking at a 2% revenue fine, like a fine of 2% of their yearly revenue for not reporting it. Right.
So imagine a $1 billion business, 2% of that million is a lot of dough. Dang.
Right. And this just happened this week, in Germany. And so, so I want to really just put that out there, is that, in America, we are a developed country. We have all these tools and these things to help protect us. And we've always played what do you say, big brother, for other countries. these other countries that aren't as developed as we are, and their citizens, their people are being, they're being taken advantage of. For us, I was just reading a report earlier today. There was $233 trillion worth of goods imported into the United States last year in 2020. $233 trillion worth of goods. Okay. So a lot of that definitely has something to do. There's an estimated 16 million people that are enslaved right now today in our supply chains around the globe. 16 million people. So what we can do. Yes.
I can interrupt. Sorry. Well, shit. You were gonna say something good there. I was just gonna curious if there's a breakout. If there's a breakout, in terms of the countries that kind of harbor, or not harbor, but have the most, who's got the lion's share, I guess, of these 16 million poor souls. You have any insight to that?
So I would. There are some countries that are really that are big offenders, and what I'd really like to say is that if you look at anything outside of North America, outside of the United States, Canada, and the EU, that's really where you need to focus on. And not every country is a violator, and not every business is a violator, but we all know in business, we all try to find ways to sharpen the pencil and drive our costs down. And these ways of doing business have ultimately led to humans being harmed. And what we're doing is we're shedding a light on it. I'll be the spokesperson. I'll say, hey, listen, I'll talk. I'll be the communicator for the movement, whatever. And my company, what we do is we help your company show the world that you don't have these things happening in your country. So what I'd like to say is that, like, in America, we've always played like that big brother role, no matter what type of situation that we've been in, whether, international, different countries, whatever, we've stepped in and helped. And here we are like, it's almost like devil's advocate, right? So these goods are coming in, they're being made for us, right? That we use every day. We use them in our shower. We put the clothes on, we do these things. And these people are making this stuff for us, right? And what are we doing back? We just want the cheap goods. So what I'm saying is ways that you can help, an individual, a person can help, is just really stand up for the movement, right? And reach out to your brand that you like, reach out to them, put a post on there, put a post on their
accountable
on their website. Yeah, absolutely. Say something. Say, I demand that you show us that you're transparent, right? And show us, because nothing really will happen. Some companies, some brands, you'll be surprised, and I'm not going to name drop. You'd be surprised at the common brands that just snubbed me. Won't have nothing to do with talking, not even seeing what a certification is about. They don't even want to entertain the conversation. And so it's really interesting once you dig into it and you really realize how business really works, right? And
empathy, right? Empathy and indifference. It's I'm just gonna kind of turn a blind eye. It's that borderline of ignorance to it, right? It's and maybe it's more, I guess, that could be more customer based, and also depending on which part of the business, say whatever business is making these violations, right? Maybe only the very top know about it. Maybe only, upper middle management know about it. And then the associates and the others that are working there just don't really know. Mm-hmm. And some of the brands that I know you're keeping kind of protect the guilty, in a sense. I've got a couple in mind myself that, I may or may not have those brands at the house, and I don't even want to wear them anymore. Yeah. Because it's just not right. It just goes back to imagination, something, empathy and compassion. It's something I like to talk a lot about on other pods that I've had, other shows, and just generally, on my social, on my LinkedIn specifically. Just imagine that's someone's kid, man.
We all have people that we live with that we love truly. Like, these are human beings, right? Let me make the plea. These are human beings, right? We go to funerals and we mourn and we cry the people that they're not here. These are people that belong to other that have other loved ones, right. And outside of, the United States, Canada, and the EU, there's a lot of these countries, you don't have the freedom to go home at night to your family. You don't have the freedom, and you're kept against your will. And, we have that luxury. That's why I say is we have all this opportunity here in America. We can quit our jobs any day we want. It might not be the best thing to do, but we have that option to do that. I don't want to work here. I don't have to. Right. So, and it's America, it's America. I can start tomorrow fresh on a new foot, and, and that's how it is. So yes. So my call is to reach out to brands, tell them, say, hey, listen, I want to know the brands, the companies that you like, that you're invested in as a consumer, as a buyer, because these big brands, these big name brands, they won't do anything. They won't do anything until the customer, the consumer drives the demand, because that is what drives their business sales is the consumers. Right. So.
Well said. And so let's talk about a couple other quick things. So, you mentioned your LinkedIn. So where can we find you? One of them is LinkedIn. They'll be in the show notes, right? Jason Zapp and HRSC. But where else can we find the brand, and how can we engage, right? How can our listeners engage?
Yeah, for sure. Follow us on Instagram. We're at HRSC_info on Instagram. And then also we have a website. It's at hrsc.us. Mm-hmm. And you can also reach out to me, Jason. It's Jason at hrsc.us.
Got it. Good deal. I'm trying to think, we can engage on LinkedIn and engage through email. What would you say if you had and this is an arbitrary number, but like a top 3 industries that you're seeing the most traction with, or whatever, it doesn't have to be top 3, but where are you seeing the most traction? And so that, again, right, if someone, a business owner is watching this, someone who's a manager at a business and sees this, hears this, they can now have their awareness raised so that they can action against it to then contact you and kind of start the process, exploration.
Yeah. So top 3, garments. Garments is number 1. Garments, the beauty industry, and electronics. So, we'll work with any company. Those 3 seem to have, we've done a lot of work in those 3 businesses. And, we'll help any company do whatever.
Good deal.
Yeah.
So then thank you for sharing that. We'll make sure those are in the show notes too. And I like to end, I've been doing this for most of my shows, if I can remember to, one of my favorite things to say is keep going. Right. So, when it's tough, especially, Jason, for us, folks like us that are entrepreneurs, right, there's a lot of hot and cold, ups and downs, back and forth, stop and go. So one of my favorite things to say is keep going, because when it's dark, when it's tough, whatever it is, you just got to figure out what's that next step and to take it. Because, obviously once inaction sets in, then, the dream, the goal, the product, the service, the company, it doesn't have the opportunity to grow. So my curiosity with you is, what keeps you going, right? And another way to say that is what kind of, keeps you driven, keeps you, actualizing your mission in life, right? Like, obviously HRSC has written a lot of compassion and service, right? I should have said that at the beginning of our pod, service, in terms of servant leadership. What keeps you going, Jason? Like, what is it that has you going right now? And is it to have you keep going until HRSC starts to really hustle and bustle?
Thank you. Persistence, I guess. Persistence is key to anything, right? You want to do well at something, you persist. And anybody that knows me knows I can't sit still. I can't sit still. This is probably the longest I sit still.
Energy, huh?
So I'm up early. I don't sleep a lot. I'm up early and I go, and I go all the way till bedtime. And, and I am very thorough at everything that I do. And that's really why I think that this has been one of my babies. I don't fail at anything. So I always make sure that I succeed. I might get knocked down a couple of times. And like you said, you have those black days, but persistence is what'll get you across the goal line.
So what's the source though of that persistence, right? Is it your family? Is it you have this mission in life where there's a better world out there, and you won't rest until you have some sort of impact on it. Like it could be both, right? Like it's not always just one source, right? It's a mixture of things. So like
Yeah.
what are some of the sources, right, that keep you, being persistent, having the energy, go, like and that's how we'll kind of wrap up. What's in that source for you?
I've always been a people person, and that's how I've gotten thus far in my life, in my career, is that you surround yourself with good, positive people. You work for good people, and you see that you're only as good as the people that you surround yourself with, right? So, and that's what I like to do. I like to be challenged, uh, by everybody, my kids, my family, my boss, my company that I work with right now, my full time, like these things that they keep me going every day on a daily basis.
Mm, well said. It's all about people, man, and that's at the core of HRSC. It's about making sure that human rights are intact and that they're being supported, like we would want our sons and daughters and fathers and mothers and everything in between. We want the same for them as we would within these supply chains. So I applaud you, man. I'm inspired by that. I know I told you that when we first reconnected some months ago. Now, glad we were able to do this. And again, the show notes will reflect places that you can find Jason, how you can reach out, how you can connect with him, learn more too about HRSC. But in closing, so again, gratitude, Jason, for spending the time and shedding some light on what you're doing. Again, it's amazing, amazing work you're doing. And of course, gratitude to vidwheel Creator Network, as I end every show, for the support. Podcast, video-based media company here in Buffalo, New York, doing great things, supporting entrepreneurs so that they can continue to grow. Much like I know you'll be growing, Jason, in the company, and as I continue to grow OZmosis. So many thanks, and keep rocking it. Keep serving, man. Keep serving to keep soaring.
Thank you, brother.
All right, we'll talk soon.